Understanding human libido, particularly female libido, requires moving past simplistic stereotypes and acknowledging a complex interplay of biology, psychology, and relational dynamics. High libido in women is not a monolith. It doesn't look the same for everyone. It is not defined by a certain style of dress or a specific personality type. Rather, it is an underlying current of sexual energy and interest that manifests in often subtle, consistent, and hidden behaviors. These are the patterns that signal a foundational level of sexual desire that is integrated into her life. This exploration is not about identifying easy targets, but about understanding a facet of human sexuality with more depth and nuance. The signs are often quiet, revealed not in loud proclamations, but in consistent patterns of behavior and communication. A primary sign is a consistent pattern of proactive initiation. This is perhaps the most significant yet often misunderstood indicator. Our cultural scripts frequently cast men as the primary initiators of sexual activity. This creates a bias where female receptiveness is seen as the norm and female initiation is seen as an exception. For a woman with a high libido, this script is often secondary to her own desires. She will not just react to advances, she will create the opportunities for intimacy. This isn't necessarily about grand, overt gestures. It can be subtle, a specific, lingering touch intended to signal interest, directly suggesting an intimate evening, creating an environment conducive to connection, dimming the lights, putting on music and making the first move, or initiating sexting or sexually charged conversations. The key word is proactive. She is not a passive participant in her own sexual life. She is an active agent. This behavior demonstrates that sex is not just something she enjoys when it happens, but something she actively wants and is willing to pursue. It shows that her desire is internally generated, not just a response to external stimuli. This pattern is often hidden because it may be misinterpreted. A partner accustomed to being the sole initiator might see her advances as a mood rather than a consistent trait. But when observed over time, this pattern of proactive initiation is a powerful indicator of a high sex drive. She is comfortable with her desires and comfortable expressing them. Another sign is a high general sensory engagement. This is a holistic sign. A person with a high libido often has a high sensory drive in general. Sexuality is, at its core, a deeply sensory experience. It involves touch, smell, sight, sound, and even taste. A woman who is highly engaged with the world through her senses may also have a more easily accessible and higher libido. Observe how she interacts with the non-sexual world. For instance, with food, does she genuinely savor it? She might not be a foodie in the pretentious sense, but she appreciates complex flavors, textures, and the experience of a good meal. She doesn't just eat for fuel, she eats for pleasure. Regarding touch, pay attention to her relationship with textures. Does she comment on the feel of a soft blanket, the texture of a piece of wood, or the sensation of wind? Is she touchy with her environment? With scent and sound, she may place a high value on a good-smelling environment or be deeply moved by music. This high sensory engagement means her pleasure pathways are generally more active. She is predisposed to noticing and seeking pleasant physical sensations. This translates directly to her sexuality. A person who is stuck in their head, detached from their body and environment, will have a much harder time accessing their libido than someone who lives through their senses. This connection between the sensual and the sexual is fundamental. Perhaps the most instantly recognizable sign, once you understand its significance, is the prioritization of non-sexual physical affection. It is arguably the most hidden sign because it is confused with general warmth or friendliness. However, its consistency and intent are what differentiate it. Many people mistake high libido for a constant, overt desire for sex. In reality, for many women, a high sex drive is inextricably linked to a desire for connection and closeness. This manifests as a near-constant need for non-sexual physical touch. This includes casual touch, like constantly touching her partner's arm, back, or shoulder during conversation. A tendency for proximity, such as sitting very close, leaning in, or ensuring their bodies are in contact, and actively seeking out cuddling and hand-holding. Why is this a sign of high sex drive and not just affection? because for many women, these actions are the necessary foundation for sexual desire to flourish. This constant stream of physical connection maintains a simmering level of intimacy and arousal. It's the foreplay that happens all day long. Overt sexual advances can be jarring or feel disconnected, but a constant backdrop of non-sexual touch keeps the physical and emotional connection alive, making the transition to sexual intimacy feel natural and inevitable. When you see a woman who must be in physical contact with her partner, not out of insecurity, but out of a genuine need for that physical connection, you are often looking at someone whose libido is high and simply waiting for the right moment to express itself fully. It's recognizable because it's a constant in her behavior. Furthermore, a high libido is not just a physical state, it is a psychological one. A woman who is comfortable with her high sex drive is often, by extension, comfortable with sexuality as a topic, which leads to emotional openness and vulnerability regarding sex. This is a hidden sign because it's verbal, not physical. It's about a distinct lack of shame or awkwardness when discussing sexual topics. This does not mean she is crude or indiscreet. It means she approaches the subject with maturity, curiosity, and honesty. She is willing, in a trusted relationship, to articulate what she likes, what she doesn't like, and what she wants to try, seeing this as a healthy and necessary part of a sexual relationship, not an embarrassing confession. She is curious about her partner's desires, fantasies, and boundaries, a curiosity that stems from a genuine interest in having the best possible sexual connection. She will normalize sexual health, discussing topics like contraception or hormonal cycles with the same practicality as discussing any other health topic. She also talks about sex with a positive framing, as a healthy and enjoyable activity, avoiding shaming language. This emotional openness is a byproduct of high self-esteem and a healthy relationship with her own desires. A woman who is ashamed of her libido will hide it, creating a disconnect. A woman who accepts and embraces her libido will be willing to communicate about it to ensure it is being satisfied. There is also the energy factor, physical vitality, and self-care. Libido is fundamentally biological energy. It is expensive for the body to maintain. It is a non-essential function. Therefore, a high libido is often a direct reflection of a high state of general health and vitality. The body must first take care of its core survival functions, managing stress, digesting food, fighting illness. Only when there is surplus energy does the body allocate resources to the libido. This sign is hidden because we mistake it for just being a healthy person, but there is a strong correlation. She understands the prioritization of sleep, knowing it is non-negotiable for regulating the hormones that govern sex drive. She maintains consistent physical activity. She doesn't have to be a marathon runner, but she moves her body through yoga, weightlifting, or even consistent walking to increase blood flow and boost endorphins. She also has a nutritional awareness, generally eating in a way that fuels her body rather than depletes it. A woman who actively invests in her physical energy is, consciously or not, investing in her libido. Her body has the capacity and the surplus resources to support a high sex drive. You cannot have a high-performance drive in a low-energy system. In the modern world, the single greatest killer of libido is not age. It's stress and a lack of time. This leads to the next sign: proactive time management for intimacy. "We'll be intimate if we both have energy at the end of the day" is a recipe for a sexless relationship. A woman with a high libido understands this, and she treats intimacy with the same priority as other important parts of her life. She schedules it. This may sound unromantic, but it is the ultimate sign of high desire. This behavior is hidden because it's logistical, not romantic. It's the back end of a strong sexual connection. She will actively protect date nights or evenings dedicated to connection. She will suggest going to bed early together, not just to sleep, but to create a window of opportunity. She will prioritize the relationship's intimate life over less important social or professional obligations. She is, in essence, an architect of her sexual life. She knows that desire can be cultivated as well as spontaneous. Waiting for a spontaneous bolt of lightning in the middle of a stressful work week is unrealistic. Instead, she builds the power plant that generates the energy for intimacy. She makes space for it, which proves she values it highly. A counterintuitive sign is a distinct lack of sexual gamesmanship. Popular media often portrays women with high sex drives as teases or masters of the chase. In reality, this gamesmanship, playing hard to get, using sex as a weapon, or withholding affection to gain power, is often a sign of insecurity or low libido, not high libido. A woman with a genuinely high sex drive doesn't need to play games. Her desire is authentic. She wants connection and pleasure, and she views games as an obstacle to that goal. This manifests as directness. When she is interested, she will be clear, and when she is not, she will also be clear. She is not interested in creating ambiguity. Her affection and sexual interest show emotional consistency. They are not turned on and off like a faucet to reward or punish a partner. Her desire is a consistent part of her, not a tool of manipulation, and she shows vulnerability, willing to state her interest or initiate, which is the opposite of the power position of making someone else do all the work of chasing. This is hidden because our culture has trained us to look for the game. We are trained to see directness as too easy. But for a woman with a high libido, directness is simply efficiency. She knows what she wants, and she is not interested in a long, drawn-out performance of ambiguity to get it. Her high desire makes her honest. Another sign delves deeper than just casual conversation. Cognitive and intellectual engagement with sex. A high libido is not just a dumb physical drive, it is often connected to a person's intellectual life. A woman with a high sex drive may be intellectually curious about human sexuality. She may read books, listen to podcasts, or watch documentaries about sexual psychology, relationships, and technique. She has a rich and active fantasy life. She isn't just a physical participant, she is a mental one, understanding that the brain is the largest sexual organ. She may also have a healthy appreciation for erotica, recognizing it as a tool for exploration and arousal. This cognitive engagement is hidden because it's a private internal activity. But it signifies that sex is not just an act for her. It is a subject of interest. She is invested in understanding her own desires and the broader landscape of human sexuality. This intellectual curiosity fuels her physical drive, creating a feedback loop where her mind and body are both highly engaged in her sexual identity. We also see the recharge factor, using solitude to build desire. Contrary to belief, she may need time alone. This isn't a sign of low libido, it's a sign that she needs to de-stress and reconnect with herself to access her libido. Constant social or domestic demand is draining. She recharges in solitude to have the energy for connection. Paired with this is a proactive stance on relationship health. High libido often dies in the presence of resentment or unresolved conflict. A woman who actively works to resolve fights, communicates about frustrations, and invests in the emotional health of the relationship is also protecting the sexual health of it. She knows that emotional intimacy is the oxygen for her desire. Finally, there is body confidence and embodiment, which is not performative. This is not about having a perfect body, it's about being in her body. She is comfortable with her own skin. This embodiment can be seen in the way she moves, dances, or even just sits. She is not self-consciously sucking it in or hiding. She inhabits her body, and this comfort is a prerequisite for free sexual expression. It's crucial to make some distinctions. High libido is not the same as validation seeking. A woman seeking validation may dress provocatively or flirt widely, but this is about external affirmation, not internal desire. High libido is an internal state. Validation seeking is an external one. Similarly, a high sex drive does not automatically equal promiscuity. Many women with very high libidos are monogamous. They simply channel that energy into a single, deep connection. And it's important to remember that libido is fluid. A woman's libido is not static. It is deeply affected by stress, health, relationship satisfaction, and her menstrual cycle. A high libido woman can still have periods of low desire. The sign is her baseline, her natural return point when conditions are right. Understanding these signs is about seeing the whole person. It's about recognizing that a high sex drive in a woman is often a quiet, consistent, and healthy integration of her physical, emotional, and intellectual self. It is not a caricature, it is a complex and powerful part of her identity.